To the college writing program. Given the small size of each class, teachers are able to give students far more individual attention than would be possible in a lecture hall environment. We've interviewed a few people to see what they got out of their overall experience in College Writing 112. Yes, I actually got quite a lot out of my experience in that class. In the first unit of the class titled Self in Contradiction, I felt that I was truly able to look deep inside myself to identify certain conflicts that have been bothering me throughout my life. Here. I'll read you a passage from my essay titled Consider Yourself. Nothing of me is original. I'm the combined effort of everybody I've ever known. Chuck Palahniuk. As a young child, I had always thought of Judaism as a nuisance. You can't eat this, you can't eat that. Saturday basically didn't exist as a day of the week. No TV, no car, etc. By the time my bar mitzvah, Jewish rite of passage, came around, I was 13 years old and very fed up with all the things I couldn't do. Which is ironic, because your bar mitzvah is the time when you are actually supposed to start following all the laws for real. Until then, all my sins were passed to my father. The first time I ate Skittles, not kosher, I was just sitting there waiting for the lightning to strike. Those were delicious. I think I'll have some Doritos. Also not kosher. Over time, this sacrilege escalated to watching movies on my laptop in the privacy of my room on Friday nights, and more recently to double bacon cheeseburgers. Very not kosher. Hi there, I'm David, and I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning working on my final reflection for college writing. This is how hard you have to work for college writing. It's totally worth it though in the end. I love it.
Yes, well, one of the most important things that I feel like I've learned in this class is to spin out my thoughts and spin out how my essay looks in a web, like a web form. Like, look at this, for instance. See this? This web right here? This is all over the place. What you want in an essay is to have everything compact and no straggling ideas like outside the web. This is very good at trimming the fat of your essay, of what you need to put in and what you don't need. You may have some great ideas that just don't belong in your essay, and this teaches you to just cut them out. And, you know, that's one of the most useful things in the world.
I sort of found that the audience was one of the most important things to consider when writing your essay. And that's probably the most important thing I've learned in this class, that who you're writing to can completely change what you're writing. It can change the vocabulary you use, it can change the sentence structure, it can even change the content. You may censor what you're writing just based on who you're writing it to. Like, if you're writing to your peers, you can clearly be explicit about certain things, but when you're writing to like an intellectual audience or children, you may have to censor yourself to be more proper, for instance, or be more sort of maybe less crude, but at the same time it changes what the essay is saying.
Well, what's good writing to me? Good writing to me is showing versus telling, choosing a specific audience to write to. That's very important. Your sentences should be E-primed and purged of any unnecessary indefinite pronouns. Yes, when I was learning in college writing, I found that I was learning things that were applicable to all aspects of life. I mean,
yeah, bro, I totally learned a lot of new stuff in college writing. Like in Unit 4, for instance, like, we did all this stuff about sentence revision. Sentence revision, constantly sentence revision. I mean, like, we did these things like getting rid of indefinite pronouns. Like, for example, telephones are meant to extend communication, but I don't think anyone can say that a phone conversation is more intimate than a face-to-face. And since texting was introduced, this problem has been amplified further. Once I fixed it, it sounded like, telephones are meant to extend communication, but I don't think a single person can say that a phone conversation is more intimate than a face-to-face. And since texting was introduced, this problem has been amplified further. You see, it's things like that you learn in college writing that you never would have thought of otherwise. Like, E-prime is taking all of the forms of to be out of a sentence. So, for instance, I wrote, if I were a 5-year-old child, this quote would leave me baffled. And I fixed it to say, the mentality of a 5-year-old child contradicts this quote. You see the difference there? There's like a big sort of like intellectual difference in the quality of that sentence, you know? You know what I'm saying? Beginnings and endings. Like, a beginning, an essay is not an foreshadowing introduction, a bunch of body paragraphs, and a summarizing conclusion. You want an essay that's stimulating throughout the entire thing. Your beginning should be grabbing the audience, should be pulling them into your essay, bringing them in, wanting them to read the rest of it. And your conclusion should be a conclusion, not a summary. And that's not something you learn in high school, and you develop these skills in College Writing 112, which is why I've come to love this course very much. In Mother Russia, we never learn to write well. And in this class, we were encouraged to free write. When we free write, the ideas start coming out onto the page, and we would learn things that I would write things that I would never have written before, and you know, it was a great feeling getting all of these things out of my mind. You know, like in Motherland, we never learned stuff like that. Never. Stalin, terrible teacher. In the reading, we learned about different aspects of writing, like Schuin versus Tillen, and we learned that like certain authors could like definitely tell us things with imagery much better than we were able to write ourselves, and I think that's a skill that we've established since the beginning of this course. I'll read you a slight passage from Consider the Lobster by David Foster Wallace. Say, by the way, a relative of William Wallace. So he talks about cooking a lobster. He says, however stupor as a lobster is from the trip home, for instance, it tends to come alarmingly to life when placed in boiling water. If you're tilting it from a container into the steaming kettle, the lobster will sometimes try to cling to the container's sides or even hook its claws over the kettle's rim, like a person trying to keep from going over the edge of a roof. And worse, when the lobster is fully immersed, even if you cover the kettle and turn away, you can usually hear the cover rattling and clanking as the lobster tries to push it off, or the creature's claws scraping the sides of the kettle as it thrashes around. The lobster, in other words, behaves very much as you or I would behave if we were plunged into boiling water.
After we read all of these intellectually stimulating essays, we were able to take passages from them and reflect upon them and build upon them within our Unit 2 essays.
Yeah. I mean, for instance, in my Unit 2 essay, I used the passage in George Saunders' essay about how media is supposed to convey images to the public through storytelling. I just think that it's a very interesting concept, and I had never thought about it really before. And I'm comparing the storytelling that Saunders uses about news media to that of the film industry, specifically Lord of the Rings.
Yes, I feel like I learned a lot in this class, College Writing 112. I learned, I say the most from this book right here, the Penguin Handbook. Yes, like you learn many things. Like for instance, MLA format. I would never have known otherwise how to cite a poem or play. Right here it says it's perfect instructions. I'd say it's one of the greatest skills I've acquired in my entire life, probably. Yes.
Another important aspect that is taught in this course is the ability to utilize the UMass Library's databases. For Unit 3, you will be taught how to do sufficient research both online and in books to complete the requirements for a researched essay. I feel that Unit 3 taught me the most compared to all the other units. The skills that I learned in Unit 3 I will definitely be able to take with me throughout the rest of my college career to help me write more effective research essays. All units aside, I would say the single most important thing that I learned in this course was the process of revision. You learn to accept feedback from your peers and from your teacher to help you write much more complete, thorough, concise essays. In College Writing 112, you will learn the basic foundation of what it takes to be a good writer, from sentence structure, revision, and content, to reading, writing, and researching about great intellectual stimulus. And you may even enjoy it too, like Justin here. Woohoo! Warning, none of this really matters because you have to take the course anyway. This production was brought to you by David Fine Incorporated.